trust and effort are all in vain. Who will pick you up when you've lost everything? Does it all become for granted with a wedding ring? Oh, there must be more.
And a hearty welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining me for this video. My name is Keith Barker. I am super glad that you are here. This channel is built to help assist people and giving them the best tools and tips today in helping you get your CCNA. Now, one of the things that's come up quite a bit, I want to make a short video on this, what this video is all about, is I'm building a lab or I'm working with the ASA, and how do I authenticate this with ASDM? Now, if a lot of those terms are new, let me share with you, first of all, the tip regarding CCNA. The ASA, which is the acronym for the Adaptive Security Appliance, this is a little baby bear version right here. I've had this, I have quite a history with the ASA and its predecessor, the PICs, and now the future generation, the FTD stuff. But the ASA is a firewall. It's a dedicated firewall that we can use for lots of functions, including protecting our networks. And the tip for CCNA is it is not required. So if you say, Keith, I want to know nothing except for just CCNA, you can go ahead and catch the next video or enjoy the master playlist, and you can save all the time. However, because there are quite a few people who are working with the ASA and they want to be able to get familiar with it and play with it, one of the big challenges that comes up is, how do I use ASDM and how do I authenticate with ASDM to it? Well, let me just give you a context around this whole thing. A long time ago, in a network far away, there was a PIX, the private internetwork. Is it internetwork or internet? Anyway, the acronym was PIX, Private Internet Exchange, and they stole the X to make it an acronym that kind of can be said. And that was a long time ago, like before 2005, Cisco's firewall, the PIX. And I remember when I first saw one, I was like, why are you so... I thought to myself when I saw it for the first time, why aren't you responding like a normal iOS device? Because it's not. It runs its own version of software, has special commands. It's a purpose-built firewall, the PIX was. And so in about 2005, they came out with the ASA, which is the acronym for the Adaptive Security Appliance. It's sort of like the PIX, but the next generation. So they were able to sell new hardware, and it was like version 7 at the time, good times. I remember going to San Jose. They invited me to a beta class where they were starting to teach it and get feedback and so forth. And I loved it. I did. I had the benefits of the PIX firewall, plus some new features and additional inspections. It was wonderful, really great. And then they, so that was version 7 of the ASA, and now we're on version 9X and above. And then version 8.2, they actually changed the way that NAT worked and added additional objects, and so that was kind of a big change. So I've taught regarding the ASA, and I love the ASA over many years. Now, going forward, the ASA is now like a little bit of a legacy device because Cisco is moving to firepower threat defense. So there's dedicated firepower appliances, there's a management center that you use as a central console for managing all your firepower threat defense appliances, and if you have the right model, this is a baby bear, an old baby bear. If you have the right model of hardware, you can add some aspects of firepower to this device or to a appropriate model of the ASA and actually get some functionality that way out of it as well. However, our purpose in this video is a lot of people have bought these on eBay, or they have older devices, or maybe you're using the ASA image inside of GNS3, or maybe you're using inside of EVE-NG, or maybe you're using it as part of Cisco Modeling Labs, the Personal Edition, or the Enterprise Edition, or maybe, or you have the physical gear, and you want ASDM to work. ASDM, the Adaptive Security Device Manager, they played with the acronym there because the device was called the ASA, the Adaptive Security Appliance, but the graphical tool that you can log into and click your way to success is called the Adaptive Security Device Manager. It really should be the ASA Manager, ASAM. Maybe the acronym didn't flow. Anyway, ASDM is the graphical user interface, but the big challenge that people have is that, hey, I've just got this ASA, whether it's in one of those virtualized environments or physical gear, and I can't get ASDM to work. It's not working. What do I need to do? Well, I have, in a past life, created lots of videos on how to get that all working in various platforms. But I wanted to share with you, no matter what stage you're in, as far as if you want a Cisco an ASA in your network, or virtualized otherwise, and you want to get it up and running with ASDM, That's what I like to walk you through right here. And as a demonstration, I'm going to walk you through doing it with Cisco Modeling Labs. However, no matter how you have your ASA set up, as long as you have the image for the ASDM software on the flash or disk of the ASA, these steps will be very much similar. So let me go ahead and walk you through step by step on getting it set up. Also, as we go through this together, I'm going to use the Cisco Modeling Labs. And if you're interested in how do I connect Cisco Modeling Labs, which is a virtualized environment on one of my computers here, how do I connect that to a physical network? Check out my previous version on connecting CML, a previous video on connecting CML to an external network. I walk you through step by step, the back end and the connectivity and how to get that working. I'm going to leverage that as I create a new ASA inside of Cisco Modeling Labs and then connect it to my network. And then once that's done, the rest for the authentication of ASDM and getting it working is a piece of cake. All right, so this is adaptive security. This, my brain, ASDM, I must say ASDM. It's good to have you here. So this is the Cisco Modeling Labs, and I will click on Add Lab. If you're curious more about Cisco Modeling Labs, check out my previous video on how to make it work and go. And I'm just going to create a new lab right here. And we're just going to do it from Greenfield, meaning nothing here. And I'm going to go on the right-hand side. Let me drag this down a little bit. And let's grab the Cisco ASA. It's on this list somewhere. There it is, ASAV. Boom, done. And let's also grab the external connector. That's what I'm going to use to bridge the ASA to my home network here. You can do the same exact thing. My home network is 192.168.1. Great. And I'm just going to give this guy the IP address of .12 on that network. So I'm going to make this bigger. Boom, 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 bigger, 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 bigger. And then we could also center that. We could also just use the wheel on the mouse if you have one to make it bigger. Great. And let's connect them up. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the ASA on this little link icon, click and drag it over to the external connector. And, you know, this is funny. I got my first CCIE back in 2001. And then I got my second one in 2003. And one of my study buddies for that was Ed Yanez. So I'm CCIE 6783. He is CCIE 6784. Only because we tested on the same day back in the almost 2 decades ago. And his name alphabetically, Yanez, was later than mine, B for Barker. So that's the only reason those are that order. Anyway, he was a great resource. And when we were studying I think it was, that was in 2000. Yeah, the ASA came out in 2005. So this was the PICs we were dealing with back in those days. And he said, yeah, I always do the zero interface for the outside interface on my firewall because it's easy to remember. The zero kind of looks like an O. And almost every time, which has been thousands of times, I've configured an ASA in a lab or in another environment, I think of Ed Yanez. So Ed Yanez, CCIE 6784, I appreciate you. You're a good man. Oh my gosh, what a great guy. Okay, where was I? Oh yeah. I want the connectivity for gig 0 from the ASA going to my external connector, and we can click on this device and go to connectivity and just verify our ports. All right, so far so good. Let's do this. Before I power this on, I'm going to double click on the external connector. So we'll make sure we're editing it. Click on Edit Config, and I want it to be a bridge. I want to bridge that external connection. That's going to be my home network. So I'll just go ahead and go to Node Info. And it's going to say home. Just to represent that that's a bridge to my home network here, or my office network, whatever the space is that I'm recording in. And it's going from gig 0, 0 on the ASA. So I'm going to go ahead and power it up. I'm not going to add any new configs. It's just from the ground up. And let's click on Simulate and click on Start Lab. So this would be like, while that boots up, that would be like taking this ASA, connecting it to one of your ports here, an Ethernet cable, plugging it to your home network, and then powering it up. And then having a console cable so you can actually see the CLI. That's what we're simulating right here. It's just an ASA. I'm just an ASA. Yeah, there should be a song with that. We need a theme song for the ASA. Maybe you think of one, you can share it with me, and we'll use it. Anyway, it's just an ASA, no config, and that's connecting to a network, and then we'll set up the steps to get ASDM up and running. That's the graphical user interface, so we can manage it. So in the old days, there was an amount of pride in using just the CLI, and I agree, using the CLI is important for many things, But as we get more and more to software-defined networking and graphical user interfaces, that there's still a lot of benefit for knowing the commands at the CLI and so forth. In fact, in getting ASDM working, we're going to need a lot of CLI commands to get it working and get it authenticated. But using graphical user interfaces and now going to controller-based networks where you have a controller that's raining down the configs with APIs to your devices, that is not only the wave of the future, that is happening now. All right, let's go back to this topology, and that little circle there. Oh, there we go. That little check mark means it's all ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and click on this icon here, which is the console, and you bring it up a little bit, and I'll drag this topology up a little bit. If this looks like it's fun, this is so fun. I mean, Cisco Modeling Labs, the personal edition here, which uses HTML5 for the interface and so easy to set up, it's a win. 2 thumbs way up, Cisco. Way to go. And I was thinking, I thought last night, in fact, I was dreaming about this last night, about how if Cisco really wants to dominate and have just tons of technicians who really understand how things work, this tool to give a person practice in setting up the devices it supports with various flavors of iOS and ASA firewalls and so forth, this is a great way for people to get practice without blowing up their network. So Cisco ASA, type in enable, and it's asking me to set a password. Great, I'm gonna use Cisco 123. In my lab environment, I use Cisco 123 a lot. So, all right, and then I'm gonna do a WR to save that config. Fantastic. And then let's go to, then I'm gonna do this. Let me bring up Notepad. Here we go. Here's the, what was that? Theme music for Notepad++. All right. Let's do this. Let me just give you a brief heads up on what these commands do, and then I'm going to paste them in. So our goal is to get this ASA so that it supports ASDM, and I can connect to it with the browser and get it going. So I'm going to go into configuration mode. We're going to go into interface configuration mode for gig 00. That's this interface right here. We're going to do a no shutdown. I'm going to give it a name. Every interface should have a name because it needs it. So name if outside, which gives it the name, is by default going to have a security level of, because it's named outside, it gets a security level by default of 0. So I left off the security level command because it's going to get one. I'm giving it this IP address because on my home network, that IP address .12 is available. So I'm going to give it that as a static address. I'm enabling HTTP services, which also means enabling HTTPS. And I'm also permitting HTTP sessions from anywhere coming in on this outside interface based on that name we just gave it a few moments ago. I'm also creating a local user account, username admin, password Cisco123, privilege 15. This is King Kong, and I'm using that same password just in a lab environment for simplicity. And then, this is important, AAA authentication. We'll save a discussion on the full AAA discussion for another time. I want to authenticate HTTP console. So console is a keyword on the firewall on the ASA, meaning the way you're accessing. So there's an SSH console, there's an HTTP console. It simply means the method you're accessing this device. I want to do authentication of HTTP sessions coming in using the local database. Now, on a Cisco router, local is cool. It's just a keyword. It can be upper or lowercase. On the ASA, unless they recently changed it, you got to put that puppy, local, in uppercase. That is how it recognizes, I need to use the local database, which means use this user account. So local in uppercase as the method, and then I just save the config. And let's go to that point. So let me clear off that scratch. I wonder if scratch is the right term. Anyway, I'm going to copy that and go back to the ASA, right click and paste. And there we go. And it's saved. So we're done. So let me do a let me do a ping to 192.168.1.1. That's the IP address of my default gateway on my home network. I love it. I love it. I love it. And if we do this, check this out. This is the part I was blown away by. Like, okay, now I've got to copy. I've got to find the ASDM image, the .bin file, copy it via TFTP or FTP or whatever over to this flash or disk on the actual ASA to get it going. But then, so I did this. I did a DAR flash, and I thought, oh, there's no ASDM file there. I'm gonna have to copy it over. But I also thought, hey, there's no image here either. So, so anyway, there's different files. If we do a DIR, and there we go. So if you do, oh, that's not showing it either. Okay, well here we have like disk 0 and boot and flash, and so let's do a DAR disk 0. And check this out, on disk 0, Where is that? Oh, maybe it's boot. I apologize. Let's do dir boot. There it is. Look at that. So there we have the ASA image, 9.1 or 9.12 and change. And then here we also have the ASDM. Now, is it the most current ASDM? No, but guess what? It's an appropriate version of ASDM for this ASA. And in a second video, what I'll do is I'll walk you through, if you want to, how you can upgrade the ASDM image. But by default, it's there. Now, it's a little tricky because if we did this, we did a show ASDM image, it says, I don't know where that is. But so we could actually specify the image location. But check this out. All we need to do to get this working is if we open a browser. So this guy's IP address is .12. I just open a browser and go to https://192.168.1.12. Your connection is not private. No worries. That's because the ASA is using a self-signed certificate. I know it's going to my local network based on the address. And I'll simply click on proceed. Your browser, depending on which browser you use, may have different, methods to say stop, whoa. But the key is to proceed, and based on the browser you're using. So I'm going to proceed, and then you click on install ASDM launcher. It installs a little launcher file that you can then use to connect. And also, if I recall correctly, I think I tried both options, and the install Java Web Start. Actually, I tried both, and I went through them, but one required installing Java. So if it requires to install Java, although that's not my favorite thing to do, you'd want to install the Java, follow the prompts, go to the Sun site, Sun Microsystems, or whoever is the official carrier of that file for Java, and download and install Java support, which I've already done. So I've also already clicked on install ASDM launcher. That's already done on my computer. So I'm just going to go to ASDM. There's the launcher. There's the IP address because I tested this like an hour ago. I'm going to log in as admin. That's the user account we created. Cisco 123 123. Okay. This is where I'm just like, way to go, Cisco, making it easy. It's like you don't have to jump through tons and tons of hoops to get ASDM working. And here it is. Here is ASDM. So if you click on configuration and we click on firewall and we go to, let's see here, service policy rules, here's our inspection rules. Oh my gosh, I have loved the ASA for a long, long time, and I still get a little bit sentimental when I see the old commands. So if we click on edit, here's our default inspections and the rule actions. We can include additional inspections and set up all kinds of policies. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. And if we go back here to the homepage, it's version 9.12 that comes with. I mean, this is just right out of Cisco Modeling Labs. No big man. And also, when initially ran, it said this is a limited version, meaning it's going to restrain how much traffic can flow through it without a full license. But it's fine. I'm not sending megabytes of data through this virtual ASA. I'm just using it as a tool to learn it and practice and so forth. And then it's also showing here it's using ASDM version 7.12, which, if we go to the command line, so we can go back to the command line if we want, or right here we can go to tools and command line interface, and we can do I think the command is show ASDM image. There it is. So once we've connected with HTTPS and logged in, and we're using ASDM, it has now information on that ASDM. Before I connected via HTTPS, it didn't, if I did a show ASDM image, it didn't show me the image name, but it found it, and then it started using it. Ta-da! All right, so as far as tips and tools for CCNA, let's take away a few takeaways here. One is, if you're studying for just CCNA and you want to focus on just the blueprint, do that. And if you don't have an ASA in your lab, don't buy one. If you don't have Cisco Modeling Labs, you don't need it for the ASA. Packet Tracer is going to support your CCNA journey, and that's the tip I want to share with you. So stay on target. Like, well, do I need to get no? Literally, my goal, part of this channel and part of the tips and tools for getting your CCNA is that I want to make sure everybody, regardless of station in life, if you've got access to the internet and you get the free packet tracer from netacad.com, sign up for a free account, get the packet tracer. I have lots of labs that I make available, and there's also lots of labs everywhere else as well, as far as practicing, getting hands-on practice, so you can get really, really good with the fundamentals that are focused on in the CCNA. So you don't need to go out and above. It's like I heard somebody saying, if you chase 5 squirrels at the same time, you're probably not going to get any. I mean, one squirrel by itself is pretty hard to get. So what we might want to do is focus on one thing at a time. Meaning, if you're working on your CCNA, focus on the CCNA. If you have other gear, other things, that's great, but don't let that detract you from your main course of study, which is the blueprint items for CCNA. So our goal on this channel is to provide the tools and tips today that you can use to help get your CCNA, regardless of whatever your major course of sources for that training. So if you found this video enjoyable or useful, please go ahead and click on the like button, let other people know. The techniques I shared here would apply to physical gear, inside of CML, inside of EVE-NG, inside of the older VIRL, and basically anywhere you're going to run the ASA and you need the ASDM running or want it, that's how you do it, step by step. So, and the environment's a great place to practice. Great to have you. I'll see you in the next live event or the next recorded event, whatever it happens to be. I wish you the best of success in your journey, and thanks for being here on the Keith Barker channel, where it's the tools and tips today to help get you your CCNA. See you next time.
Do you ever feel you don't get out what you're putting in?